Hello and welcome to today's geography lesson. Today we're going to be looking at continents of the world. This is something that you'll know a fair amount about and you'll have a chance to do some further research. It's really important that we know this basic geography so that we can move on with our next unit of work. Okay, let's start with some retrieval practice. These are questions that you should already know and are mainly based around where we live. So first of all, what continent do we live on? We live on Europe, the continent of Europe. Even though we've left the European Union, we are still part of Europe. And what country do we live in? We live in the country of England. And England has land borders with which other two countries? So a land border is where you can step from one country into another country from one side to the other just by stepping. So the land is next to each other. You don't have to cross a sea at all. To the north of England is Scotland, and to the west of England is Wales. Some of you might have thought about Ireland or Northern Ireland as a part of the UK. However, there is a sea between them. And whereabouts in England is Manchester? Manchester is in the northwest of England. So if you picture where Manchester is on a map of England, it's in the northwest of England. Okay, good job if you got all those correct. Be looking again when you go on to today's Google form. So today I said we were looking at continents, and I've got some pictures here that represent the different continents. Now you'll probably already know that there are 7 continents, and they show different land masses in different areas, and different maps show it differently. For example, on the bottom left map, Africa is shown as a green shape, whereas on the top right, Africa is shown as sort of a pinky, peachy, yellowy colour. And then just behind my head, Africa there is shown in an orange colour. So don't be confused by the different colours and the way that the maps show them. They all show exactly the same land masses, just represented in a different way. The first thing I'm going to encourage you to do when you finish watching this video is to look at the continents on different types of maps and start to see if you can recognise their different shapes. So if you just saw the outline of South America, would you be able to recognise that as the continent of South America? So what is a continent? A continent is a very large landmass. That's a group of land. A continent is usually separated by water or other natural features like mountains. There are 7 continents in the world: Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe and Australasia. We're going to find out more in just a moment, but did you know that continents only cover 29% of the Earth? The rest of the Earth's surface is water. So there is more water than there is land mass. And that land mass is then split up into the 7 continents. You'll see that on this slide that there's some purple writing. These are the important words that you need to learn today. This is our key vocabulary. So you need to be able to describe what a continent is. And a continent is a very large landmass, not a small island, not a small country, but a very large landmass. You also need to describe what a natural feature is. So natural features are things like mountains or seas or lakes or forests or glaciers. They're things that occur naturally in the world, and a feature is something that we can spot, something we can look at. So these are things that we can see around the world that are natural. Asia is the biggest continent in the world. 2/3 of the world's population live in Asia. Major countries include India and China. The Himalayas, the world's tallest mountains, are found here. The Dead Sea, the lowest point on the land, is also in Asia. Asia is home to tigers, monkeys and giant pandas. So these are some key facts about Asia. It's really important to learn some of these key facts. Things like 2/3 of the world's population live in Asia shows that there are more people living in Asia than any other continent in the world. The fact that it's the largest continent in the world, when we look at a map, we will know exactly which one it is just by knowing that it's the largest. Some of you may have noticed as well that the word countries is written in purple. It's part of our key vocabulary. Okay? A country is an area that's governed by a particular government. It has its own rules and its own laws, and it's people that split up countries. It's people that define where a country is. Some countries have something like a river or a forest or a mountain range along the edge of them, but the true boundaries are defined by people. Whereas continents, their boundaries are by natural features such as rivers or seas or mountain ranges. Africa is the second biggest continent in the world. Africa has 54 countries, more than any other continent. This is really important because some people think about Africa as being just one place, one country, but actually it's made of many different countries. Major countries include Egypt, Nigeria and South Africa. The River Nile in Africa is thought by many to be the longest river in the world, although some claim the longest is the River Amazon in South America. Some dispute there. Africa also has the world's biggest non-polar desert, the Sahara. In Africa, you will find giraffes, elephants and lions. Okay, learning some of these features will help us to understand what life is like on the different continents. For example, it having the largest non-polar desert, the Sahara, shows that it's a very hot and very dry continent. North America is the third biggest continent in the world. Major countries in North America include the USA and Canada. Pumpkin and corn originally came from here. North America is home to bears, moose and skunks. You might know quite a lot about North America because we often watch television programs from the USA. It's usually quite a recognisable continent. South America is the fourth biggest continent in the world. South America only has 12 countries, and the word only there shows that it's unusual to have so few countries within a continent. Major countries include Brazil and Argentina. The Amazon, the world's biggest rainforest, is found here. Tomatoes, potatoes and chocolate all come from South America originally. South America is where you will find llamas, sloths and jaguars. Antarctica is the third smallest continent in the world. Antarctica is almost completely covered in ice. It is surrounded by the Southern Ocean. It is the coldest and windiest continent. Each year, hundreds of scientists live and work in Antarctica. Antarctica is home to penguins, albatross and seals. Some people forget about Antarctica as being a continent because it's so cold and barren. Europe. Europe is the second smallest continent in the world. So although we live in Europe and we think about it as a really big place, it's actually the second smallest continent in the world. But Europe has 44 countries altogether. Major countries include France, Germany and the United Kingdom. Apples, pears and raspberries all originally come from Europe. The majority of Australians have ancestors from Europe. Europe is home to foxes, wolves and bears. Australasia is the smallest continent in the world. Australasia is sometimes called an island continent. It's called an island continent because most of the continent is just within one island. The Great Barrier Reef, the world's largest coral reef, is in Australasia. Australasian Aboriginal people first came to Australasia more than 50,000 years ago. The continent nearest to Australasia is Asia. Australasia has many unique animals including kangaroos, koalas and emus. So again, we've got the picture here of the map of the world showing all of the different continents. The word twinkle shouldn't be sort of printed on the middle of Africa there. Okay, so have a look at this. In the red there you've got North America, and you can see there North America has lots of smaller islands within it. Below North America you've got South America. It seems to be largely made of one landmass, lots of countries within it. In green you've got Europe. It's quite spread apart. It seems to be quite a large gap between some of the countries. In purple, you've got Asia, which is the largest continent. In yellow, we've got Africa, and in orange, we've got Australasia. So here's your tasks. I'd like you to look at the continents on different maps and try to learn their shape and size so you can easily recognise them. So even if they're in different colours, you'll be able to recognise them. And once you've done that, I'd like you to follow the link to this lesson's Google form. On there, you'll be asked first of all to answer your retrieval practice questions. Then you'll be asked to match our vocabulary with a definition. And afterwards, there'll be some questions that you can research on the continents to answer the other questions, okay? So you'll have to look at the questions, research them, and then put in your answers. Once you've completed that, could you comment on Class Dojo to say that you've submitted your Google form?